Hello, my friend. It is wonderful to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to story time. Oh my gosh, I got really excited when a Jigglypuff came up immediately, but it's not a Jigglypuff. It's the bot doing its thing. That's an Ursa ring. Don't mind my hair. It's like a little bit fluffy. Arcaria redeeming our first. Driving now. Happy to squeeze in that first. Well, that's because you are the fastest. The fastest fingers in the East. But do drive safely. Happy to be with you on your journey. I hope it is for a fun destination. Hello, Slevin. Good to see you. I know it was nice to have viewers go back to back with us, but I like that I don't have to leave now, isn't it? It's nice that, you know, I always loved being able to raid in and keep the reading going, like kind of keeping that really like mellow vibe and everything. But I know sometimes you were like, but I wanted to know more about the story, which is certainly, understandable with some of these amazing classic literatures that are out there. It's so fun to learn some of the stories, some that you have seen before, and some that you maybe haven't. I was at Mom and Papa Snooze is eating turkey, so I wasn't able to enjoy some Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde this week, but that is definitely one that I hadn't encountered until I started doing story time before. Like, I think we know a lot of the tropes and things like that, but I was shocked at how like beautiful the writing was and how just fun and snappy the story is. That's one of my favorites, I think. When we look at, if we ever like do a big ranking of all of the many classic lits that we've read on stream, I need to do like a total tally. I think we have to be close to like 50 by now, probably somewhere in there. I think this tea is too hot. I think I'm gonna burn myself if I try and eat it. Eat it? Try and drink it just yet. So how was everybody's Tuesday? I hope it was well. For me, it was yesterday obviously was a holiday in Canada. It was a Canadian Thanksgiving. So, yesterday we talked about like getting some of the home projects done. We were able to play Baldur's Gate with Adamus, and then today was kind of like getting back to reality. And honestly, I felt like I was able, sometimes, how you just feel like you're like moving through sludge a little bit the first day after a long weekend. I felt like I was like pretty much able to like jump on in, hit the rhythm right away. And that's always a nice feeling. If you have to eat your teas, it must be strong. Yeah, just chewing all those leaves. Feeling pretty good, honestly. Last night was able to get out a post for the Read Along blog, getting to the scene of Twilight, This is the Skin of a Killer, which I was shocked to discover. Not actually a line Edward says in the book. That is a movie exclusive. So I talked a little bit about some of the themes that we're starting to see emerging with lots of vampire metaphors and and we're learning a little bit more about the vampire lore, like what exactly the powers of a vampire are and things like that. But it was about that stage of the book where I had to really take seat back and go, this isn't a supernatural story with romance in it. This is a teen romance with supernatural elements. Like the A plot is, do they get together? The B plot is any other supernatural happenings. And it's probably a me problem where I was hoping for the supernatural plot with romance a little bit more, with like delving into a little bit more of the urban fantasy, and things like that. So I was a bit like, oh, but I'm certainly having a fun time, sort of doing a really deep dive on this work. I think, and I've talked about this as well, that sometimes people deride books, especially in the interests of young girls. And so I've really tried to come into Twilight with a really open mind and, put myself in the shoes of an average reader, but still kind of look at it from a critical eye, right? And there are some very, important points, like if you look at storytelling craft, if you look at metaphor, that Stephanie Meyers is employing in Twilight. And yeah, it's we're right at the stage of Act 2 is very soon going to give way to Act 3, and the structure is following that quite well. So if you ever want to check that out, that is on my Ko-fi. I always want to say Ko-fi. Part for the night now. I had to go all out of my way for the gas station with the Aeroplan points. All the points for me, ready for all the reading now. Yes. Sometimes those like reward points where it's like, look, I have to make sure that I like use or collect or redeem before things start to expire, or anything like that. Or it's just like, or I have to like slightly go out of my way because I'm trying to collect particular reward points. It can be a little bit hassle, but then having the reward points is pretty great. I was just double checking before stream all of my timelines, and we should on the week of Halloween, we should finish both books, and both of our books that we'll be reading will have a little bit of like a shorter session of reading those. So I think the way that we'll do it is, we'll get some of those out of the way, and then we'll get into to just to make sure that we're like, you're getting a full session of reading. We always love to do some little short stories and our traditional reading of The Raven. So I'll see if I can find something a little bit like short and snappy that we can read before The Raven. But if it turns out that finishing Anna North and South takes us a little bit longer, we'll at least be able to do our classic of The Raven. We can all get out all of our Nevermores and things like that. And then, first week of November, we'll be starting Something Dead by Andrea Mackenzie, a local author. And Kay designed the cover art for this book as well. And yeah, very excited. This is sort of the first time that an author has given us permission to read their book. So we're going to dip into a little bit of self-published horror read with permission of the author, starting in November. I think it's a pretty quick, snappy read. So I don't think it'll take us too long to get through, probably a few weeks. So once we're kind of nearing the end of Something Dead, then we'll have the polls up for our next reads. For both of our children's lit and our adult lit. Why don't we get a Stream Raiders battle fired up here as we're kind of getting settled in for our cozy reading sesh. So we got to a boss battle yesterday, so we're going to start off, as Michael Cole used to say, it's boss time. Oh, did I have a placement? I definitely looked at this and I've already forgotten. The answer is Templar. Templar. Perfect. So a little bit of just catching up on my own personal reading before we get into some recap of Anne. Those who follow me on Goodreads know that I'm quite behind on my reading goal for this year. Of course, knowing that we're very soon about to finish 2 more books, but I have a couple on the go right now, but the one that I'm really vibing with the most is my audiobook that I'm listening to right now, which is a Ballad of Perilous Graves. It is sort of I would guess it's fantasy, urban fantasy, in a sort of supernatural version of New Orleans. And magic is essentially, of this fantasy universe, is music. And so the movement, the jazz of New Orleans is kind of what keeps the city going. But some of the songs have started to disappear. And so we have a couple of young magicians who are trying to track down all of these lost songs. And the audiobook actually has a soundtrack along with it. So I'm very, very much enjoying that level of immersion. It also has some really great vocal effects, lots of echoey sounds for when ghosts are speaking. I really recommend it so far. I think I still have 10 hours or something like that to listen to. But I'm just putting the title in here. The Ballad of Perilous Graves by Alex Jennings. Yeah, quite enjoying. I really like so far that we're really letting the story breathe. We're not rushing through it. It's taking it's time to really get us into we understand the atmosphere when a setting is so important to essentially almost be a character. I would like it when we spend a little bit of time slowing down. This is where and why and how this story is taking place. So there's a crystal in chat, you guys. Feel free to pokey catch. LB Arrow seems to be behaving today. It seems like the shared chat, that might be the one thing that like the bots are like, what do we do with shared chat? So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll be sorted. But yeah, keep me in mind as you guys are reading, getting closer to the end of the year, because I am going to have to be like going ham on the books so that I can meet my goal. I am quite behind. It is my fault. I picked some really long books, stuff that was like pretty dense that took me a while to get through. But now I'm paying for it. All right. Why don't we get our fireplace lit and we can jump on into some readings of Anne. We'll get our recap going. We left off on a little bit of not quite a cliffhanger, but there's definitely some threads that need to be resolved for poor Anne. Arcaria, catch that Cressel, well done. Oh, hi Fatangle, welcome in. How are you doing? Thankfully, you did catch that Pokemon because you came in just as that spawn was ending. Fatangle is getting so close to completing his Pokedex. All right, y'all. Why don't we get our little recap going for Anne? We're going to be reading 3 chapters of Anne tonight, and then only 2 of North and South, just for timing's sake. We have a few more chapters to get through of Anne than we do of North and South at this point. And one of the chapters of North and South we're going to read today is quite long. So that's kind of the timing that I'm looking at here. So we are on Anne of the Island, which is the 3rd book of Anne of Green Gables series, Canadian classic. In the summertime always makes me want to read these books. They're just so like cozy and they love nature and everything like that. I think I mentioned this like a week or 2 ago, but I watched a video from this really cute author vlogger that I follow on YouTube, Christiane Jones, and she had a video where she was like, if you love Stardew Valley, here are some reads that kind of capture that, like getting in touch with nature, cozy sort of countryside kind of reads. And Anne of Green Gables was one of the ones that was on the list. And I was like, man, what a perfect association. I wouldn't have thought about, connecting the two, but it makes sense that there's sort of like a Venn diagram there of crossover between Anne and Stardew Valley. So book 3 starts with Anne at 19 years old. She is making, actually 18 years old at the start of the